guys, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be unboxing an Arteza set of gouache. In this box there are 60 different colors, and so I'm going to start by swatching them, and then I will be painting a picture using only the gouache. Let's get started. Using Arteza watercolor paper, and I'm gonna start by swatching the gouache in the containers that are stacked in front of me. So I'm starting with the blues. These are some of my favorite blue colors that I've ever seen. They're gorgeous. The Arteza gouache, I'm brand new to gouache. I've never used gouache before, so I don't have anything to compare it to besides watercolor. I have the Arteza watercolors too, but I really like the gouache better. So it's thicker and more opaque and pigmented, which is a characteristic that gouache has over watercolors. And I really enjoyed using it. So here I am just swatching out all of the different colors, and it's gonna jump through pretty quickly. I thought you guys would get bored if you just watched me swatch 60 different colors in real time. So I sped it up and I chopped it up. So I hope you enjoy watching the swatch process, because here we go. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the good stuff. So this here, I'm just swatching out the colors that I squeezed and I'm using directly from the tube. So we've got Naples yellow, sage green, tan, burnt umber, gray, and stone blue. And I have the plate with all of the dried colors on them that was left over from the swatches, and I'll pull a couple of colors off of that plate, but on the whole I'm going to be using mostly those colors there. So I'm going to get started. First I start by taping down my watercolor to the table. Some people call this stretching your paper, is a similar technique. I'm just taping it down so that it doesn't move. Alright, so now I'm just going to start sketching out my scene. I have a photograph that I pulled off of the internet on my iPad actually, which is just out of frame so you can't see it, but I am using a reference image. I really thought that painting a mountain scene would be really fun and a good way for me to experiment with this gouache. So this is the second painting that I did with the gouache. The first one, if you follow me on Instagram, was a barn with a lightning strike. So that I used it more like I would watercolor. Here I tried to use it more like gouache, which is why I squeezed it fresh out of the tube onto that little tray to just play around with the different textures that gouache allows you to have. So as you can see, it's really thick, and I'm just experimenting with how much water to add to it because I don't know. We're figuring it out together as we go. But you'll see the part that's really dark is where the straight from the tube paint is, and the lighter parts is where I've just painted with water. You can lift gouache similar to how you lift watercolor, and you do that by taking a wet brush without any paint on it, and you squeeze the excess water off, and that will pick up the pigment or the excess water on your paper. So I was just doing that over the tops of the mountains that got a little bit too dark. Mountain in the distance there, I wanted to make it look like it was covered in snow. I kind of succeeded at that. I don't know. You guys can be the judge of that. The thing is that you have to remember, I don't know how to use gouache, so I'm just experimenting with different techniques here. And I do paint a lot of landscapes with watercolors, so I'm familiar with landscapes, but using gouache, even though it's similar to watercolor in that it's a water-based paint, it was working with those very different. So, you know, I struggled in some areas, but I feel really happy with the overall end product. So I'm about finished up with the mountains and I'm moving on to the foreground. I wanted it to look like a field with some, like a marsh kind of, where there's some ponds of water, pools of water flowing through. So I am mostly happy with how that came out. It's not as successful as I wanted it to be, but again, being unfamiliar with the gouache, I think now that I have a little bit more experience with it, with using it, I would be able to do better on a second painting. But you know, we work with what we got, and if we don't show the learning process, everybody who is an expert was once a beginner, and it's totally okay to show the beginning side of learning with any medium. There were these beautiful orange flowers on the back there. It was hard to see exactly what they were, if it was just an orange field or not, but I really liked that color that I was using, and I debated cutting it out of the picture and just leaving that as mountain, but I thought it was too pretty not to add in, so I put it in there, even though it looks a little bit weird right now. I fix it later, I promise. I'm just gonna finish up the little marsh area and then I think we'll be done. So I'm gonna let this finish out with the music. I wanna thank you guys for following along, and please, if you liked this video, hit the like button down below and the subscribe, that big red subscribe button, if you wanna follow along any of my future videos. So thanks for joining. Enjoy the picture, and I'll see you guys in the next video.